They found lots to do. They stopped fighting, started playing better together, began reading, coloring, and writing more, and learned to use their imagination. That moment was a turning point for our entire family, but especially for me. I began to reevaluate everything. I realized for the very first time that the problem wasn't that my house was deficient or that I didn't have enough closets or that I hadn't yet found the right way to organize it all. My problem, pure and simple, was those bullseye-dotted white plastic bags, and the paper ones from all my other favorite stores, and the boxes arriving far too frequently from Amazon.com. In fact, my problem wasn't a lack of storage space at all. My problem was too much stuff. Become clutter-free. F-R-E-E. F. Fight to stop the flow. At every turn, we are bombarded with an overpowering message of consumption. There is always something else to buy. We need to actually fight with ourselves, fight against the advertising, fight against a culture that is telling us to buy more, more, more. There are two ways to do this. First, we have to eliminate temptation and simply avoid the stores whenever possible. This means not going to Target or Walmart or even Goodwill if that is your temptation. It means to stop going to garage sales. This is not really about how much you spend. It is about not needing more stuff. Second, we need to buy only what is essential. Make a list and stick to it, or obey a 24-hour policy if you are in the store and see something you like. It means no longer buying on impulse, but instead only going to the store if there is something you really, truly need. R. Reduce by ruthlessly purging. Once you've fully committed to fighting the flow and keeping the influx of new stuff out, it is time to tackle the mess you've already made by ruthlessly purging everything. To do this, you must decide to keep only that which is currently useful. If you haven't used it in the past year to 18 months, stop holding on to it. If you don't love something, or if it doesn't bring you joy or value to your home, don't let it stay. Give yourself permission to let go of anything you aren't actually using and give it to someone who might get some use out of it. E. Establish strict limits. Adopting a strict limit policy forces us to change our thinking. It reminds us of the fundamental truth that our consumer-driven society so desperately wants us to forget. We already have enough. To do this, we must be persistent about quantity control. In today's society, more and bigger is seen as better, but this isn't necessarily the case. If your clutter is out of control, start setting actual numerical limits on the number of things you will allow yourself to have. 40 hangers in your closet, 8 pair of shoes, 3 sets of dishes, no more than 1 of each tool in the garage, and so on and so on. You will have to decide for yourself what is a reasonable number, but once you've determined what is reasonable, be diligent about sticking to it. E. Emphasize quality over quantity. We often buy too much stuff because it is cheap and readily available, when we should take a totally different approach and instead choose long-term value over short-term savings. This doesn't mean spending whatever we want and only buying the most expensive items, but it does mean that sometimes paying a little more for something that will last is a much smarter tactic. Adopting this philosophy also means committing to buy things that are well-made from quality materials. In the end, it is so much better to invest in one quality piece that will stand the test of time than to have to replace a cheap, poorly made item again and again. Fight to stop the flow. Some of our most profound lessons in life come through our children, and in my case, it was only after I saw how this stuff was affecting them that I began to understand how it was affecting me. Even more importantly, only after I began to accept full responsibility for the excess of stuff in our home did things actually begin to change. After all, my husband wasn't the one bringing in most of the stuff. My kids weren't the ones who wanted to go to Target every day.